Welcome to USAWarStories, where we honor the bravery, sacrifice, and untold journeys of true American military heroes.
January 28th, 2024. The borderlands of Jordan lay quiet beneath a pale sunrise. Tower 22, a small U.S. logistics post near the Syrian frontier, seemed peaceful, too peaceful. The soldiers on watch traded tired smiles, unaware that invisible wings were already circling above. In the still air, the hum of desert wind masked a deadlier sound, the approach of drones no one saw coming. Within minutes, calm would turn to chaos, and history would mark this morning in fire and loss. Without warning, the sky erupted in mechanical fury. Enemy drones struck with precision, tearing through the perimeter. Soldiers dove for cover as sand and shrapnel filled the air. Radios crackled, and commands shouted over the roar of engines and explosions. Tower 22's defenders faced an enemy they couldn't see, a threat born of wires and steel. In the blink of an eye, the calm morning was gone, replaced by chaos, fear, and the desperate fight to survive. With drones closing in, Tower 22's defenders sprang into action. Anti-drone missiles launched, tracer rounds streaked across the morning sky, and every soldier's heart raced with adrenaline. The desert air was thick with smoke, dust, and the metallic scent of destruction. Each shot was a gamble, each movement a fight for survival. They were outnumbered and outgunned, yet determination burned fiercely. Every soldier knew that failure here meant there would be no survivors. The walls of Tower 22 shuddered under the relentless assault. Smoke and fire consumed the command room as soldiers fought not only the drones above, but the chaos within. Injured comrades cried out for help, while radios screeched with fragmented calls for backup. Outside, the drones circled like predators, relentless and unforgiving. In that moment, survival was no longer about strategy. It was about sheer will, courage, and the instinct to endure against overwhelming odds. Just when hope seemed dim, reinforcements tore across the desert, engines roaring and rotor blades slicing the air. Soldiers at Tower 22 spotted them and signaled with desperate flares. Relief mingled with tension. Every second counted. The incoming forces promised a chance to turn the tide, but the drones were still relentless, circling, striking with deadly precision. In the desert's unforgiving landscape, victory would demand more than courage. It would demand every ounce of skill, teamwork, and determination these soldiers had. With reinforcements in range, the defenders launched a coordinated counterstrike. Sky and earth roared together. Apaches unleashed missiles while ground troops tracked drones through clouds of dust and flame. Every impact shook the desert floor. Amid the chaos, commands echoed through static-filled radios, uniting soldiers under one purpose: take back the sky. For a fleeting moment, courage overpowered fear, and Tower 22 became a fortress of defiance against an unseen enemy. Then silence. The thunder of battle faded into the crackle of burning metal and the low moans of the wounded. Tower 22 stood scarred but unbroken, its defenders scattered among the ruins. Every soldier carried the weight of what had just happened and the fear of what might come next. In that eerie calm, the desert seemed to hold its breath, as if mourning the lives already lost and warning of another storm yet to come. Just as the survivors began to breathe again, a warning came through the static. New contacts, dozens of them. The radar screamed with life, each blip a symbol of death on approach. Eyes turned skyward as the horizon darkened with a second wave, larger and deadlier than before. The soldiers steadied their weapons, hearts pounding in unison with the rising hum. They knew what was coming, and at this time, Tower 22 might not stand. The second wave struck with merciless precision. The sky seemed to fall apart, fire, metal, and dust raining upon Tower 22. Drones screamed through the air like guided fury, tearing through walls and vehicles alike. Soldiers fought to move, to breathe, to survive inside a storm of shrapnel and flame. Communications went dark, and the world shrank to chaos and instinct. Every explosion was a reminder. The enemy was everywhere and nowhere at once. In the aftermath of the strike, chaos gave way to desperate courage. Medics sprinted through fire and smoke, risking everything to pull the wounded from the wreckage. Every cry for help cut through the roar of burning fuel. Blood soaked into the sand, but still they worked, hands shaking, lungs burning, hearts refusing to stop. Amid the ruin, humanity fought to survive, proving that even in the heart of hell, compassion was a weapon stronger than fear. Their voices faded into static. The radios that once connected them to command now whispered only silence. Every attempt to reach headquarters ended in failure. Flare after flare vanished into the sky, unanswered. Tower 22 was cut off, alone in the wasteland, surrounded by wreckage and uncertainty. The realization sank in. There would be no backup, no rescue. From this moment on, survival depended solely on the men and women still standing inside the smoke. Cut off and battered, the survivors of Tower 22 made their choice. They would not run. With bloodied hands and fading strength, they rebuilt what they could and prepared to face whatever came next. The air was thick with smoke and defiance. Each soldier knew the odds, yet none stepped back. In the heart of the desert, surrounded by silence and death, they stood shoulder to shoulder, ready to hold the line, no matter the cost. Then it came, the final assault. A black cloud of machines descended with a roar of vengeance, blotting out the sun. The air shook with explosions as the soldiers of Tower 22 fought with everything left in them. Every trigger pull was an act of defiance, every heartbeat a promise to stand until the end. Amid the flames and smoke, they no longer fought for orders or nations. They fought for each other, for the ones beside them, and for the ground they refused to surrender. The tower couldn't take any more. Metal screamed, walls buckled, and the proud fortress began to crumble. Inside, soldiers fought to pull each other from the wreckage as the ground shook beneath their boots. Fire and dust swallowed everything in sight. Even as the roof fell and the world turned to chaos, no one stopped moving. In that collapsing fortress, courage burned brighter than the flames that tried to consume it. With Tower 22 in ruins, only a few remained, exhausted, wounded but unbroken. Surrounded by fire and silence, they took their positions one last time. There was no thought of retreat, no hope of rescue, only duty and resolve. Every bullet left in their rifles was a message to the enemy. We will not yield. And as the drones closed in again, those who still stood did so not out of fear, but out of honor, for their fallen brothers, for the flag still burning above them, and for the promise they made to never surrender. Amid the ruin, a single soldier clung to hope. Fingers trembling over wires and broken consoles, he sent out a final transmission, static and urgency intertwining. Each word carried the weight of survival and loss, a desperate plea to a world that might not hear. Around him, the survivors waited, hearts pounding, knowing this message could be their last. And as the radio hissed into silence, the desert seemed to pause, holding its breath for what would come next. Hope arrived on the wind, a helicopter cutting through smoke and chaos. The remaining soldiers risked everything, sprinting across burning sands, dodging the deadly machines above. Every second was a gamble, every step a test of courage. With flares blazing, they signaled the chopper, praying it would hold long enough. As the first climbed onto the skids, the line between life and death blurred, and for the first time in hours, salvation seemed within reach. Yet the battle was not over. With the helicopter rising, survival hung by a thread. Drones screamed through the air, seeking to drag them back into the inferno. Tracer fire and explosions painted the desert in chaos, but the soldiers pressed on, gripping hope as tightly as their weapons. Every heartbeat echoed in the storm of metal and fire. In that desperate ascent, Courage and determination became their only shields against the relentless skyward threat. As the helicopter climbed, the chaos of the desert receded beneath them. The roar of drones and explosions faded into distant echoes. For a fleeting moment, the survivors allowed themselves to breathe, to feel the weight of what they had endured. Faces streaked with soot and tears reflected relief, exhaustion, and the haunting knowledge of those left behind. Tower 22 was behind them, but its story and their courage would never be forgotten. The sun set on Tower 22, its walls shattered, its silence heavy with memory. The few who survived carried with them the weight of courage, loss, and the unbreakable bond forged in fire. The desert reclaimed its calm, but the echoes of that day, the bravery, the sacrifice, the relentless fight against impossible odds, would linger forever. Tower 22 had fallen, but the spirit of those who defended it would never be forgotten. The stories of bravery, sacrifice, and courage never end. For more real military encounters and true war stories, subscribe to USA War Stories. Join us on the front lines and witness every battle, every hero, every moment of history in action.